Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Unit Lost. I am Stylosa and I'm joined by the wonderful...
Me, Josh. Hello. Yes, I'm here. You always do this to me. You just cut off.
I know.
Without warning.
I just give it you. Yeah, I know. It's the best. Hello, Josh. Hello. So, there has been a beautiful update on the Overwatch PTR. We've got the endorsement system and we've got the LFG system. And what I guess I want to ask the question, is this enough to save Overwatch competitive? And, what has been your experience with this so far? Because I think it's got some positive, a lot of positives, but it's also got some negatives as well, and hopefully we can discuss that in this video, because I know there's a lot of people out there who are quite confused, even with basic things like, I want to call it role select light, because it's not really like a heavy role select. It's not forcing you to play one specific hero. People are really confused about that. They're like, I want to play Lucio, but if I lock in as a support, they might want me to play Mercy, and I can't play Lucio, and all of this stuff, very confusing. Right. Let's go into it, Josh. Do it. Give it me. Give it me.
Yeah, let's start with the role select. The first thing about the role select, or the LFG tool, let's use the proper terminology.
LFG.
The LFG tool, the first thing is I would like it just to be mandatory. I just like it to be that's how ranked works, and it just slots you into the LFG tool, and there you go, and you have a balanced team comp instead of 5 people who've played 30 hours on hands-on, nothing else this season, because that's how they roll. But yeah, I don't think it's going to save Overwatch, but I definitely think it's going to improve it. One of the things I'm super curious about when it sort of develops and how it goes when it hits live is, do teams that use the LFG tool end up winning a buttload more than teams that are just using the matchmaker as is? If you just join solo queue and you get put up against a team that's used LFG, which might not happen, might happen, I don't know. How's that going to work out? Who's going to win more? And I'd be really curious to see if these pre-constructed teams that just say, okay, well, you're going to play DPS, and you're going to play tank, and you're going to play healer, and it's loose, and, you could pick Symmetra if you want, if you're locked into damage, especially with a new Symmetra, or you could pick Torbjorn, or you could pick, Tracer, or Genji, or whatever you want to pick. And, how's it going to work? How's that going to work against people queuing in solo queue? That's what I'm really curious about.
My biggest issue was not being able to play the hero, but when I say hero, I generally mean the type of hero that I wanted to play, because I don't know what you're like, but generally I'm like this. I sit down and I'm like, well, today I fancy playing tank, so I'm going to play Reinhardt and Winston. That's how I operate. So if I go into a game and then I see on the team that we've got somebody with 80 hours on Reinhardt, I'm a bit like, okay. Yeah. I let that guy play it, then I'll play something else. Maybe that's a bit of a fringe case, because I know most people just generally lock in the hero they want to play, which is fair enough, I guess. This system, though, at least gets rid of the hurdle of, hello, I'd like to play a tank, and I'm going to join this team, which has set itself to have 2 tanks available, 2 DPS and 2 supports, let's say. So at least I know I'm going to be able to play a tank. Yeah. So it gets you over that hurdle. It is an interesting idea, though, that you did put forward there, that will these teams win more? I guess we're going to have to wait and see. I want to say that probably yes, because they start off with a positive mental attitude. But the game's not all about having a positive mental attitude. It's about having the better team and players and tactics. But the foundation for that, at least in my head, is it's fun. Yeah. It's
that first hurdle, that first problem that always just gets on my nerves so much, which is that every Overwatch game technically could start with an argument. I want to play this and I want to play this. And it's you have 3 DPS and no supports, and everyone wants to play, probably 4 DPS at current meta, 1 support, no one wants to play tank because they get bullied, and it's you get past that, at least with the LFG tool. You have some control over, well, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And even if you don't use that mode, there's an unlocked mode and a locked mode, basically. The locked mode says that you can only pick in the tank pool of heroes. And the unlocked mode says, well, you can pick in anything you want. But even then, it's just sort of still saying loosely, hey, yeah, you're probably going to be playing support. We could run 3 DPS, but whatever. And it's setting you up for success. You don't have that initial frustration where someone goes, oh, well, I wanted to play DPS. Oh, you're playing DPS and we're losing, so I'm going to start throwing because I think I can do a better job. And
See, this might be some misplaced faith in humanity I've got here, but with the LFG tool, when you look at the team comp, even if it is open roles and you lock in as the tank, you will almost certainly play a tank hero. The only time I can see this falling apart is that old chestnut of, oh no, we've lost the first fight, so I'm not playing Reinhardt anymore, so I'm just going to play Widow. That is the only problem I can see with that type of system. But I think just because you won't have the issue of that argument at the start of the game, and you know what as well I've noticed? People talking to each other as the group's being formed in the chat. and over the voice. Like, it'll be like, hello. It's nothing major. It's not like, hey, my name's Stylosa, let's be best friends. It's just like, hey, how's it going? You know, or hi guys. That little bit of, it's almost outside of the match, if you get what I'm saying. It's like there's no stress there. It's like, hey, it feels like an MMO. It feels like I'm playing World of Warcraft or something, and I'm like, hey guys, you know, and they're like, hey, let's, you know, and I'll say to the other tank guy, what tank do you want? You know, main tank or flex tank, blah blah blah. Like, you have these little discussions which you don't get right now on live. So, like, in my head, this is a good thing. But let's talk about the private profile, because this is something which is causing a lot of friction. Now, your profile, you can hide it.
Yep. And it's set default to only friends
Hidden.
Can see it.
Yeah.
So your friends can see it, but no one else can.
Yeah, so if you're like me and you've got no friends, nobody can see it. So that is like, yeah, this is a really touchy subject, you see, because on the one hand, I mean, the whole reason I got my first alt account was because the original Stylosa account just played Reinhardt. I think it was just Reinhardt. Season 1 and 2, it was just a tank account. So I go into games and it would be like, can you play Reinhardt? And I'm thinking to myself, well, I'd like to play Soldier, right? If only I could have hidden my profile. Instead, I bought another account. Now, that's obviously not a great solution, is it? You can't be expected to go out there and buy other accounts. Problem is with hiding your profile is, well, as I'm sure you can shed some light on here, Mr. Josh, there is quite a major negative with it, really.
Yeah, well, the major negative that most people look at is, you know, you have that early stage of trying to build your team. The first thing everyone does is they press P and they look, okay, you play this, you play this, you play this, you play this. And you sort of build a team in your head and you figure out what you're going to pick. Now, in an ideal world, that would be great. But like you said, there's cases like what you just described. That's happened to me tons of times as well. Like, when I've been playing on one of my DPS accounts, for example, I'll generally sometimes flex onto, like, Moira. Like, Moira was my healer of choice last season, so I tended to flex onto Moira. So what ended up happening? Well, I had, like, 5, 6, 7 hours on Moira, and then, like, an hour on certain DPS heroes that I was playing. And then when I joined the game, it was like, oh, well, you're a Moira player, you're a support player. Why is a support player playing Widow? And it's like, well, I don't want to play support, I want to play DPS. But you're instantly being pigeonholed by that system, by that career profile. Now, sure, you can say, oh, well, you know, it's going to be harder to build teams, but, like, with current meta, most of the games I join, again, I pan through and it's like Hanzo, 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 Mercy, Hanzo. And it's like, well, that's not useful. And I don't know about you, but I'm just kind of fed up of, like, people telling me what to play. Even when I'm picking stuff that's within the meta as well. And it's like, well, you play this. And it's like, well, sod off, I want to play this. And I think we've had this discussion before where it's been like, Overwatch is one of the very few games where you can join a game and not do what you want to do. There's a very good chance that you will not be able to play what you want to play. Even if it is a sensible pick, even if it works in the meta, you might not get to do it.
Which is, and always has been in my eyes, the main problem with this game, especially on a competitive level. Like, for quick play, for arcade, I mean, I don't really care. Like, you just go in there and do whatever the hell you like. But one thing I will say is on the PTR, because obviously competitive's not available, when you go into a quick play LFG group, it's way more coordinated now. All right, skill levels are all over the place. The footage I've used in the background of this video is actually a relatively high skill level game, and you can tell by what's going on. But then I've had games that have just been, you know, crazy because it's quick play. There's no matchmaking, is there? Well, there's no matchmaking on PTR anyway, but it can be all over the place. But what you've got there is, you've got the foundation of a team straight away. You've got people playing the roles they want to play, and you've got people generally trying to work together. So what I want to do now is move on to the endorsement system, because this is for somebody who I think, when I look at myself, I think I'm actually a tank main if I really wanted to be one type of hero. But over I guess it's years now of playing Overwatch, I have got more playtime on DPS heroes and then support, I think. Tank was like a very early sort of love affair that I had, but I've always enjoyed that role. Even going back to when I used to play MMOs, I was always like, you know, the tank in the raid or the tank in the group, because it was like I guess you could say like a shot calling kind of role. Well, now you get rewarded for that, and I legitimately got butterflies in my stomach. Right, this is how sad I am. Right, and the hairs stood up on the end of my, I got goosebumps when after a game I started getting floods of shot caller endorsements. I'm like, this is so cool. I mean, it wasn't like 2,000 IQ shot calls. It was just like, guys, let's go left. Just basic stuff. But I got rewarded for doing that, and you do not get rewarded for that right now on the live server, and it makes you feel like, what's the point? Especially when often you can just be the only one talking, which is
especially
fine.
On EU,
especially on EU. Yeah, like EU is obviously got a load of languages and blah blah blah, and has all these problems, but there is a tangible reward now for somebody who is willing to lead the team, and that is, to me, is so cool. Like, to see that yellow finger pointing and it's popping up going endorsement received, I'm like, this is great. Like, that makes me feel like I feel great. It's like positive reinforcement. I think it's great design, because Overwatch for too long has rewarded you for being a toxic, just leaving chat player. Like, I'm just not going to talk to these guys. Screw them. I'm just going to play whatever the hell I like. I don't care. It's all great, whatever. And then go into the next game. But now it's actively saying to you, hey, you get a reward. Now, I am going to make a video, or maybe I've already made this video, but we're going to discuss some of the ways rewards do come in. But we know right now that if you issue an endorsement, I think you get 25 XP.
So just a little touch of experience.
It's only a little bit. Yeah, but it's worth doing it, right? Because you're like, hey, I'll hand it out. And you feel like you're handing out medals. At least I do. I'm sort of like, hey, well done there, Josh. You were a great shot caller. Have this, that type. That I don't know. It's so cool to me. That
it's just that nice little positive. Like, it also feels like, if you have someone good and useful on your team, and you just give them that little bit of positive, it's like a pat on the back, and it's not like going into voice chat afterwards going, oh yeah, good job, man. It's just like a little pat on the back saying, hey, you did a good thing. Makes that player feel good, makes you feel good, because you're passing stuff out to people, you're sort of sharing things inside your team. And if your team's terrible, then you don't reward anyone. If your team had some good people on it, you give them a little pat on the back. And what I can see happening as well, because you have those levels and stuff, like if you get a player who comes in and they've got like 10 endorsement levels and a ton of shot caller points, you're probably going to listen to them. Because tons and tons of other people have gone, hey, yeah, this guy's a really good shot caller. Or you have like someone with a good teammate, like the bar just like wraps around the entire thing. It's like, oh man, I'm really excited about playing with this guy because apparently he's a really good teammate. And it gives
it almost builds a profile, doesn't it, of a player, which we don't have before, because everyone's faceless, aren't they? Unless you've got friggin' Stylosa as your name or something. Everybody is faceless when they play the game, so you don't know who they are, you don't know what their history is. Yeah, you can look at their profile, but you don't know if they're going to be a shot caller, if they're extremely good at a hero, because hell, you could play a hero for hours and be terrible at that hero. You just don't know. At least this is opening the door for that, isn't it? Giving you these like almost basic profiles. Like, one thing I hope, and little bit of a teaser to you guys who have made it this far in the video, there probably will be more details on this next week, is where this system goes from now. Like, what are the additional things that are coming into this system? Do we see a fully fledged guild system? Is that the goal?
Ooh, I hope so. And also, I want to see if like the inverse happens, where like a player who's only getting endorsement level 1 or like 0, if they will actually realize that no one likes playing with them.
Oh yeah,
and no one
this
likes
is a good thought. Yeah.
like hanging around with it. It's like you sat there with endorsement level 1 and everyone else in the team is like 10 or whatever, and you're just going, am I an arsehole? Like, is this what's happening? Like, I remember I played a game not that long ago with a guy who was just constantly belittling everyone, like had just always advice, like whenever someone died, had advice. Then you trance to like, you didn't do this, you weren't there, you weren't there, what was that, all just full of advice, full of not very useful, nitpicky advice. Clearly he made no mistakes and stuff like that, and it's like, I wish I had a system where, that guy could just, now I avoided him because he was just tilting the hell out of me, but I wish there was a system there, and this system can kind of do that. Even though it's positive reinforcement, it does have that sort of social pressure of just, hey, be a good person, otherwise you will stand out because you're going to have endorsement level 0 or endorsement level 1. So
when you set up groups with this, you can set the endorsement level, so you can say like, I only want people with endorsement level 3 and above in this game, which right now the system goes up to 5, and it is very difficult to get to 5, and I think it's got quite a lot of decay built into it, so if you're not constantly playing and getting the good endorsements, then you will start decaying down. But like, I would say, based off what I've seen on the PTR, which is obviously only a very small sample size, anybody above level 2 is probably a nice positive player, to be honest. Somebody who's not negative, somebody who isn't trying to mess the team up. It's just somebody who's like, they might have a on and off game, but at least there's a profile for those players now. At least it's like, oh, hey, this guy, if they've got the full yellow circle, then yeah, they're a shot caller, they must be good at it, and then they can start working through it. I mean, it's such a nice system. Almost, if anything, I kind of like this more than the LFG, although I like the fact we've got LFG as well. I'm really surprised that they dropped both of these at the same time. But I can kind of understand why, because of the way the endorsements links into the LFG system.
Yeah. It makes a nice filter of just like, hey, no arseholes on my team, please, and that should be a right that everybody has. Which again, it reinforces like the LFG is a really good feature.
Well, let's wrap this up, right? And I'm going to ask you this question: will you ever use the standard queue when this goes live, or will you always use the team builder?
I will probably use the team builder quite a lot. My only issue with the team builder is I'm the kind of person that likes cycling through teams. And so the idea of like, oh, I'm going to form this 6-stack for today and then just play with these 6 guys constantly, I kind of like the feeling of just like bouncing through teams.
And it kind of doesn't, it doesn't really encourage that if you think about it, because you can't endorse the same players. Like, you can only endorse every 12 hours. So if I endorse you, then I can't endorse you again. So that kind of does make you almost want to drop the group and build another group in a way.
I guess it does. So I imagine I'll use it quite a lot because it means it's more likely that I'm going to get to play the stuff I want to play. And if I turn out to be a trash DPS, well, then the group can kick me and I can go and find a different group perhaps. Or but you have those systems, you have those tools. You can say, well, I don't think you're good enough for this group, or I don't think you're suitable for this group. Toodaloo, bye-bye, go find another group. And you can do that. Or you think that, oh, well, I don't feel suitable for this group. Like, I'm the only one who's good in this group. So you can go off and find another group. And so I really like it. I really like this system. I wouldn't mind seeing something similar to this as well being implemented on the solo queue. Pick a role and go forward. Role select, please, Blizzard. It's been on this channel like 9 billion times, but I'm going to say it as well just to get my 2 cents in. So yeah, that's
But I think their problem with that is the forcing of the meta. So if you look at the way they've done this, you can force your own personal meta. It's like, I've got an agenda, and my agenda is 1 tank, 1 DPS, and 4 supports. That's my agenda. So somebody play with me, and then nobody plays with you, and you think, well, my agenda's terrible, so you can go away. Whereas if they were just like, right, 2-2-2 then that's Blizzard officially saying this is how we want you to play the game. Now, that's not inherently bad. I don't think that's bad. Honestly, I think that would be great, right? In a way. But then you get the whole argument of like, well, what happens if we want triple support? What happens if we want to play the cheesy goats comp and just rush onto the point? Well, blah, blah, blah. All of this stuff starts getting thrown in. But I think, end of the day, this is a good change for Overwatch. Like, saying, will it save Overwatch and all of that? It makes Overwatch much more playable. And I think it's a good foundation for them to start building on. Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, he's been Josh and I've been Stylosa. If you have had experience on the PTR, then do comment below and let us know what you think about this system. I think we're both in agreement, quite positive. There is some negative issues and things like that, but let us know what you think about all of this in the comments below. All right, Josh, where can we find you, my man?
You can find me at twitter.com/ESL. No, not ESL, sorry. That's just 1 underscore amongst many. And twitch.tv/ESL. 1 amongst many. Don't worry, it's confusing. I'm sure there'll be a link in the description.
Yeah, we'll description. Yeah, all of it.
Beautiful.
All right, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Toodaloo.
Toodles.